Is dubbed as the world's capital of protests in light of frequent protests around the country. In recent news, violent protests erupted in Vuwani and Limpopo after residents there and in Malamulele were left unhappy about the Municipal Demarcation Board's decision to merge the two villages to form a new municipality. Approximately 24 schools in Vuwani were set alight, and this is the second week that schools there had to close their doors. Well, joining us from our Cape Town studio is Dr Jimmy Matsapola from Thebele Limited to talk to us about the impact that these protests have on our society and just on our psyche in general. A very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, Doctor.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to your viewers.
You know, we see South Africa and the protests. You know, when we see one protest to another, we almost believe that it can't get worse. And now we're looking at what's happening in Vuwani. It's almost giving us the reputation of the protest capital of the world. Is this something that we can actually say?
Well, we can't contradict the research. And the research shows that we are the capital of protest, you know.
Yeah. Is it becoming just part and parcel of our culture?
Yes, Leanne, you have to understand that historically we are emerging from a very cruel existence under the yoke of apartheid and settler colonialism, where people did not have avenues and platforms to express their desires, and they were brutally suppressed if they were to try to request redress of their plight. So they resorted to violent protests, and this became a culture that we have embraced because it actually gave us results. South Africa is today free because of those protests, because of insurrection, and some people have failed to make that transition from the liberation struggle methods to the constitutional democracy or the method that the constitutional democracy wants or needs or requires.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is that any community, in order to have their voices heard, as in the past in South Africa's history, they're resorting to acts of violence and protests that are, if one could say, almost bigger and better than the next. Is that one way of looking at it? This is the only way that they are being heard?
No, it is not the only way that is available to them. There are other avenues. We have our courts. They can approach courts. They can protest, as a matter of fact, but they have to do it in a peaceful manner. The reason people think that the only alternative is protest is because of the problems that we have in public participation. We have local governments and councillors who do not understand public participation, the concept of public participation, how to conduct it and so forth. So there is a disconnect, for example, between local government and communities. There is no communication. People do not feel part and parcel of the decisions that are taken by local government that affects them. So we cannot have a situation where we send incompetent councillors to local government and expect that the communities will not resort to violence. They resort to violence because they think that they are not heard. And the simple thing to do is to train councillors, to make them the conduit between local government and the communities, so they can communicate effectively the decisions of local government to the communities. Indeed. Sometimes it is just purely a misunderstanding between the community and local government, and this results in the protest. Sometimes it is service delivery or failure to deliver essential services to the community, but it is not always the case. So I'm saying that we should focus on communicating with the community. We should focus on the communication between local government and the communities.
And you're not the first person to say that. A lot of people have emphasized the need for a stronger local government and stronger councillors in areas. Having said that, and very quickly, if I may ask you, because we have run out of time, I mean, just taking this Vuwani protest into consideration, you have a community that are protesting around a demarcation issue, but they're burning down infrastructure, they're burning down schools that affects their economy, that affects their children's future, that affects everything. And to rebuild those schools is going to take years and affect everything in that community. Why would they do something like this? Why is it, do you feel, that they're almost, they're impacting the future of their lives over a demarcation process?
It's ignorance, Leanne. Ignorance is a very dangerous phenomenon. People are ignorant of what is available to them. They think that they are not heard, they think that the courts are not for them, and so forth. So what we need to do is to have an education program where we can educate our communities about civics, about how government works. Here I think the failure is with the political parties, their branches. They failed to take leadership in the communities. The branches of political parties are supposed to educate the people about the Constitution, about the courts, about the laws, and about how they can access government and make their thing heard. So if we have no leadership in the communities, we are bound to have lawlessness, because then anyone, the louder speaker, the one who's more daring, will be the one who becomes the leader.
Indeed.
I think that we need to have the councillors, the ward committee members, the branches of political parties to educate themselves about government, to educate themselves about the Constitution, about our law, and about our constitutional democracy. And then to teach the communities about these issues, and to lead the communities in a more responsible way.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there, but a very strong message, and a message, I think, to carry through to these municipal elections that we find ourselves just a couple of months away from, because this is at the heart of the municipal elections. It's service delivery. It's going into these areas and addressing the needs of the community. Dr. Jimmy Matsapola from Thebele Limited, thank you very much for talking to us about the protest actions here in South Africa, particular attention in Vuwani in Limpopo. Let's take a break.